For my New Year's resolution this year, I wanted to be more positive, okay? No more hateful vibes, positive vibes only. That's what I want for 2023. That shit lasted 1 week. I can't help myself, man. I love being a hater. I love negative vibes. I just love it. One of my favorite pastimes is going on individual team subreddits, right? I'm not really a big Reddit guy outside of I don't really, go on it at all. But every now and then I like to go on individual NBA team subreddits, especially after they lose, because I don't know, I feel like it just gives you a good insight into what a fan base is feeling, especially when things are down bad for the team. And I think beyond that, it gives me a little bit of comfort knowing I'm not the only guy who just freaks the fuck out when their team loses. Like, it's nice knowing there are other degenerates like me out there who take it probably a little bit too seriously and get a little too emotional when my team doesn't perform well. So it's just nice having some comfort knowing that there are other people like me out there. But when I was recovering from my New Year's Eve hangover, which takes like 3 days now, I'm reaching the age where a hangover is no longer a few hours. It is a multi-day experience. And during that multi-day recovery period, I was just perusing through every single NBA team subreddit. I wanted to get a feel on which team's fan base was the most down bad, and it was easily the Atlanta Hawks, who are struggling as of late. They're not a terrible team, right? There are some teams that are in much worse positions than the Atlanta Hawks are, but considering obviously the big all-in move that they made in the offseason going for DeJounte Murray, considering the product, like, it's just mainly the vibes on the court, like the way the team is playing. Some of their losses have been absolutely heartbreaking. The fan base is it's in total disarray. And it was none more apparent than after their heartbreaking loss to the Warriors a few nights ago, right? They've actually recently turned into a pseudo King subreddit. They're rooting for the Sacramento Kings now because of the Kevin Huerter trade. I'm sure we'll talk more about the Kevin Huerter trade later, but they're actually calling themselves Cox fans, right? A combination of Kings and Hawks. I really shouldn't find that funny as a 27-year-old, but I got to be honest with you, I did chuckle a little bit. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm not. There was a post today about there being a bunch of trash dumped outside of the Hawks training facility. I don't know if this was like a disgruntled fan who was putting trash outside of the team's training facility, or if it was, a storm. There was somebody in the comments who said that there was a storm that blew through in the area. So I'm assuming that's what it was. I'm hoping, because that's like a step too far. There were some hilarious Nate McMillan memes. Like, they want Nate McMillan gone, and I don't blame him at all. Nate McMillan is one of these coaches that I get it. He's a safe hire. He's a safe pick for when you need to move on from a coach. Well, here's a guy who's like been an NBA coach for a long time before. But like, do these mediocre coaches who've been mediocre their whole career, do they ever go on to be anything more than that? I've always wondered that. Like, back whenever the Hawks made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021, like I was saying this a little bit out of salt because of all the Trae Young is greater than Luka Doncic takes. Like, I was being a little bit salty, but I was saying that it was kind of bad for the Hawks because it meant that you pretty much had to commit to Nate McMillan. Like, I was never a believer in Nate McMillan. I just thought Lloyd Pierce was so terrible. Getting him out of the door was just enough to spark the team, give the team some energy, let him go on a run, then get into the playoffs hot and play some teams that were just not ready for the playoffs in that moment. Making that run pretty much sealed your fate. You had to ride with Nate McMillan, and now they're paying the consequences pretty much. You're year 4, year 5 into Trae Young. Your year, I guess this is the 3rd year technically with Nate McMillan as the coach, and it's just terrible. There's reports that he's thinking about stepping down the organization. There's so much fucking drama happening all the time with the Hawks. I feel like more than any other team, like once a week there's a report that these players hate Nate McMillan. Oh my God, the general manager is stepping down. Now the head coach thinks he's stepping down. The head coach doesn't like the Trae Young. Oh my God, all the team is taking the head coach's side in his beef. Like, there's so much going on. There are little kids behind during the post-game show after Hawks games. There's like 11-year-olds chanting "Fire Nate" in the background. There's people holding "Fire Nate" signs in the background of post-game shows. I've never seen anything like this. Trust me, like, while Nate McMillan sucks, like, there are some roster issues here and some deeper problems that go beyond him, even though I do think this is not some unsalvageable situation, right? Like, I think the way the Hawks fans are acting right now is the most down bad out of any other fan base, but that's only because I feel like Timberwolves fans have just kind of given up at this point. From what I could tell, whenever I visit their subreddit, they're just like, yeah, man, well, hey, at least the Vikings are somewhat good, I guess. Like, I think a coach who knows what he's doing, who has an offensive mindset, could come into Atlanta and really kind of fix things, really kind of spicing things up a little bit. But there are some issues beyond just the coach, right? Like, their roster depth is terrible. They traded Kevin Huerter away in the offseason because the owner didn't want to go into the fucking luxury tax. How many times have you heard that story? Of course, Kevin Huerter's lighting it up right now in Sacramento, and the Hawks could desperately use a guy like Kevin Huerter. They made the move for DeJounte Murray, right, which I thought was decent. Some people hated that trade at the time, and those people probably looked more right than I did, because I actually really loved the move for Atlanta. But the funny thing is they got Jock Landale in that trade, and then they decided just to get rid of Jock Landale for nothing and bring in Frank Kaminsky. And now that's coming back to bite them in the ass because Clint Capella's injured, and now you have Frank Kaminsky having to play, and he's a complete and total fucking trash can. And while Jock Landale's not the greatest, he's much better than what Frank Kaminsky would have been. And it's like, why did you guys make that move? I really don't understand that one. DeAndre Hunter has been playing better lately, but he just cannot stay in the lineup. And I hated that contract extension. I just do. He's one of these guys, and I hate, it's not a DeAndre Hunter thing, it's not a Hawks thing. I hate these contract extensions teams do with these restricted free agents, where why don't you just wait? Why don't you just wait until they hit restricted free agency? Like, what realistically is going to happen between last summer and next summer where DeAndre Hunter's getting like max offers from teams? Nothing. And Clint Capella's became like damn near the most important player on the team because they're building their entire team around two bad defensive players. Like, Trae Young is horrendous. We've known that, but DeJounte Murray like doesn't try on defense. I think the idea was that DeJounte Murray would be a good defensive guard. Like, it'd be nice to have, in theory, this guard who could come in and just kind of be this perimeter defender alongside Trae, because we know Trae is not going to defend. That way, you take a little bit less pressure off of, you know, like the Okongwus and the Clint Capellas of the world. But DeJounte Murray's just like so checked out defensively all the time now. I have zero idea what's going on there. And now Clint Capella's hurt, and the Hawks like struggle mightily with him out of the lineup. Like, I like Okongwu a lot, right? I don't like him as much as a lot of like blog boys love him. Like, they think he's the next great fucking, you know, small ball center. I really don't see that. But really, like, the Hawks just need to look in the mirror and be truthful with what their big problem is. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are just not good enough. They have not been good enough all season long. Trae has not been good. He just has not been good enough all season long. DeJounte Murray, holy shit, man. Listen, part of the reason why I kind of wanted to make this video where I ranted about the Hawks for a little bit was because Trae Young and DeJounte Murray both sold me terribly bad in a parlay a few nights ago when they played the Lakers. And watching those two down the stretch, holy fuck. And then you compound that with the Warriors game, Jesus Christ. I mean, what these two do in clutch situations, you really have to see to believe. I was looking at some numbers, and in high leverage and very high leverage situations, okay, and this is on playbyplaystats.com. You'll have to look up what high leverage and very high leverage situations are, because I didn't really feel like reading that much into it. But from what I could tell, okay, I think DeJounte Murray has the worst shot selection in the league. I was going through and looking through all the players. He has like, it's something like 37% of his shots. Only 37% of his shots come at the rim are from three, right? And that's, I don't want to get like too analytical here, but that's kind of what you want in today's NBA. You want your shots to be at the rim. You want your shots to be from beyond the arc. Like, that's the most efficient offense. And only 37, I actually think it's lower than that. I think it was like 31% of his shots come in that area. Most of his shots are long twos. I'm talking like 15-foot jump shots. And his true shooting percentage is like 43% in these situations. It is absolutely abysmal to fucking watch. Trae Young is the exact same way. Like, I saw this tweet that showed some of Trae Young's possessions at the end of the Warriors game. And it's like almost like playing 2K against somebody. That person understands basketball and knows basketball, but they've just never played a video game in their life, and they don't know how to control the player, or they don't know how to get past their defender. So they're just hitting the shot button because they just really don't know what they're doing. That's what it looked like watching this. Like, what is he doing on some of these shots? I don't understand it. It's not like this is a one-game occurrence. This is like how the Hawks close games. They do this my turn, your turn, but it's not like this dynamic duo like, oh, KD and Steph, oh, look at him go, or Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's like shit and then dog shit. That's what it looks like sometimes. It's incredibly hard to watch. And yes, I don't want to give Nate McMillan a pass. Like, you need a coach in there who's going to pull those guys aside and be like, hey, enough of this bullshit, okay? We're going to run some plays. DeJounte, you bring it off. Hey, Trae, we're going to run you off of a screen. We're going to run a pin down for you. We're going to get you a catch and shoot opportunity. That feels like it never happens anymore, right? Or we're going to spam this pick and roll, which seems to work flawlessly with Trae and Capella or Trae and Okongwu, whatever the case may be. No, instead we're just going to run these isolation plays, which are just horrendous. Like, the Hawks shot selection is so bad. Any like shot quality metric you look at, whether it's shot quality itself or whether it's rim or in three frequency, whatever the case may be, the Hawks are usually dead last or like bottom three in all of these categories, right? And they don't really have the personnel to do that. The Bulls kind of make sense. Like, they're always towards the bottom of this list. The Nets are always towards the bottom of this list, but they have like incredibly tough shot takers. Like that's who DeRozan is. That's who Durant is. That's who Kyrie is. That's who these guys are. Trae Young, like the average depth of his 3-point shot in late game situations is like 30 plus feet. Why? Just step closer to the fucking 3-point line. I feel bad for Hawks fans, admittedly, because it's like the sense of despair. You made your big all-in move, and it just doesn't look like it's working out. You traded your assets away. You have all of these guys on huge contracts. Where the hell do you go now? But I'm going to be real. I don't think the ship has sunk to the bottom of the ocean floor yet. Like Minnesota, it's on the bottom of the ocean floor. Okay, they've already cleaned out all of the insides. All of the poachers have gone in, and they've taken all the secret treasure out of that ship. It's done. It's over with, right? For you, I think that it could be salvaged. I think there's a world where a Trae Young, DeJounte Murray backcourt works, but somebody's got to get in there who knows what the fuck they're doing. Like, it can't be this. This is just horrible. It's not fun to watch. It's not good. It's not winning basketball. It's just horrendous. They need to get healthy. That part scares me because we're talking about, like, Clint Capella is not the picture of health. DeAndre Hunter's hurt all of the time. And you need an owner who's going to be willing to spend money. And now that I'm saying all these things out loud, like, maybe it is at the bottom of the ocean floor. I don't know. We'll have to do a deep sea search.